Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'd like to share with you what I learned when I put these cheap Chinese brake rotors on my 2010 Mercury Grand Marquis about 14 months ago. So back when I got the car in November of 2018, I noticed I was having a vibration issue when I would exit the freeway going about 65 miles an hour, and I would apply the brakes. The rear end would just shimmy left to right, back and forth. And at first I was hoping it was something simple like a lead wheel weight flew off one of the tires, and it was causing it to go out of balance. So I got home, I took all the wheels off, and I checked the wheel weights, and they were all there. So I was pretty sure the rear brake rotors were warped, but I wasn't 100% positive. So in my town, I'm lucky enough to have a Les Schwab, and they love doing these free inspections. So I just got the car. I'm not very familiar with it at all, so I took it in and had him do a free brake inspection. And when the guy came back, he said he test drove it and he felt the vibration, and then he measured the rear rotors for out around and parallelism. And he said that they were warped, and that the rear brake rotors were causing the vibration. So he said he could replace them, replace both of them for $200 parts and labor, or he said he could resurface them for $70, both of them. So I did what I usually do in those situations, and I asked for a written estimate, and I got out of there as quick as possible. I can't tell you how uncomfortable I am with those high pressure sales tactics. So written estimate in hand, I thought I would swing by the Ford dealer on the way home, and I stopped in and I thought about buying the rotors and then just throwing them on myself. So I stopped by the parts department, and they said they were just under $100 each for the rotors. So those were the Ford genuine Motorcraft rotors. So I went home and I started thinking about it, and I went to fordparts.com and I entered my VIN number, and I got a hold of the Motorcraft part numbers, and these are them right there. BRRF 271 2C026 for the rear, and then the front is BRRF 266 1125. And I got the part number and I put it in Amazon, and they were $56 each for the rear and $71 each for the front, so total about 260 bucks. And the reason why I'm telling you those part numbers is because I have a feeling those rotors fit all Panthers, all civilian Panthers, not the P-71s from 1998 to 2011, but double check to make sure. So that was a little bit cheaper than what I was quoted at my local dealer. But this being a budget car, I really didn't spend too much money on this car. I wanted to see if I could find anything cheaper. So when I was on the Amazon website, I just typed in the search bar Grand Marquis brake rotor, and this is what came up. I got these the ACDelco. I'll just show you the box. This is what came up, the ACDelco Advantage brake rotors. Now I know what you're thinking, ACDelco, they make some pretty good junk, but that's for General Motors cars. Well, from some research, what I did is they've actually capitalized on their supply chain, and they started making aftermarket auto parts for pretty much every make and model car on the road. It's different from their OEM line, it's their aftermarket line, and that's why they're called the Advantage. You know, if it's OEM, GM stuff, it'll say OEM on it. So that's what came up here, and check it out. These things were $24.42 each for the rear. So I saw that price and I'm like, you know what? That sounds too good to be true. And then what sold me on this purchase is I clicked on the reviews here, and I noticed it had 14 customer reviews, and the score is a 4.3 out of 5 stars. And then I looked a little bit closer, and it's got 13 5-star reviews and 1 1-star review. And so I read that one. I want to read this review to you. And it's from this one guy, and he says, not made for CVPI. So Amazon said this would be a Crown Vic Police Interceptor. Nope. The bolts lined up, but my normal basic of all brake pads made for the PI did not fit compared to the original rotor. So basically what he's saying is they didn't fit his Police Interceptor, and I kind of don't think this review is fair because he's having a fitment issue. He's not really reviewing the rotor. And if you're ordering auto parts online, it's basically your responsibility to make sure you're ordering the right part. And so you might want to confirm and verify with the Ford website or your Ford parts department you've got a good part number, and not rely on the Amazon pull down windows. So going back to these 13 5-star reviews, I read these reviews, and it was review after review of all these guys putting them on Crown Vics and Grand Marquis and Lincoln Town Cars, civilian models, and they're all saying they're great. So I went ahead and I bought them, and I threw them on there at 67,500 miles, and as soon as I put them on there, they worked great. I got off the freeway, applied the brakes, and it solved my vibration issue. So I was a happy camper. But about a month later, I got stuck in some stop and go driving where I was accelerating to about 40 miles an hour and then hard on the brakes down to about 20 miles an hour. And doing that, decelerating from 40 to 20 rapidly must have ringed out some vibrations in the front brake rotors, because now I was feeling my steering wheel shimmy back and forth. So I thought, great, the front rotors were warped this whole time, but I never drove it in that condition to feel it. So I got back on the Amazon website, and I ordered up those ACDelcos, and these ones were a little bit more expensive. These were $36.54 each. So I paid $71 for both of them, and I threw them on, and they worked great. So, of course, these brake rotors are made in China. You know, it says right on there, made in China. And I was willing to risk it and throw the dice, because I found this in my research. When I was looking for the Motorcraft ones, guess what? The genuine Ford Motorcraft, they're made in China too. So I have a feeling all of these brake rotors are all coming out of the same factory in China. And the reason why Ford charges so much for them is because they give you that 2-year unlimited mile warranty. Whereas, you know, all these other companies, you know, you basically have a 30-day warranty or a 50-foot warranty. So I got out of here by buying all 4 rotors for $121, which I'm pretty happy with, and I'm very happy with how they're performing. They drive great, they stop great. I don't have any problems. One other thing I wanted to tell you about is the rotors that I put on are a non-coated rotor, and I didn't know about this coated and non-coated business. You know, it's been 20 years since I've had a car where I needed to replace the rotors. So I didn't know, I wasn't too familiar with it, and I wanted to read this little section here. I found this on Google. It's written by the Napa Auto Parts people from February 2018, and it says, "What are coated brake rotors?" And so I want to read this to you. Okay, it says, "An increasing amount of late model original equipment vehicle applications now specify some form of coating or surface treatment to help prevent corrosion. That is where coated brake rotors come in. The specially formulated polymer coating is applied to the entire rotor, offering total protection for optimal performance and longer life. Tested to withstand 400 plus hours of salt spray, equivalent to 18 Michigan winter months. Coated brake rotor edges and vanes stay cleaner longer, optimizing airflow and performance. Special polymer coating also keeps rust from forming along the outer edges of the pad swept area to prevent edge lift. It is important to note that the coating itself is designed to be worn away in certain areas, wherever the brake pad sweeps the rotor area. The coating will be removed by the normal operation of the brake disc system. The coating that remains will continue to protect the hub, vanes on vented discs, and rotor edges." So basically, if you're living in the rust belt or the salt belt and they're putting salt on the roads, coated rotors might be a good idea for you. And another reason why they might be a good idea is if you have custom wheels with some stylish thin spokes and you don't want to see your rusty brake rotors, that might be another reason you want coated rotors. But for my application where I'm at in California, you know, rust is really not an issue. It rains a few days a year here, and I wanted to, since it's been 14 months, I wanted to see how much rust has built up on these rotors in 14 months and about 8,000 miles of driving. So I've got the car behind me up on all fours, and I've got the wheels off, and I'll take you over and give you a look at the rotors. So here we go. So this is the 2010 Mercury Grand Marquis. And by the way, those rotors on the table were my old original factory rotors. These are the cheap Chinese ACDelco ones. So as you can see, I've got the that rust ring all around the hub here, and I've got, you know, a nice rust ring on the edge here, and it goes all the way around. So the good news is it appears to be just a cosmetic superficial rust, and it just comes right off. It turns into powder as soon as I scrape it. So these rotors are basically almost brand new. You know, they've only got 8,000 miles on them, and they still have the factory machining grooves. You can't really see it right now, and they don't even have the ridge built up on them. All right, so let me take you over to the rear. So the rear, it looks a little different. You know, it's got a lot more ugly orange coloration around this hat area, and that's because these cars have the parking brake internal on the inside of the brake rotor, but it's got that same superficial cosmetic all the way around. And on the other side, it's the same story. So what can I say about these cheap Chinese brake rotors. Well, I'm kind of a fan. I mean, I can remember 20 years ago, brake rotors were, you know, $100 each. You know, that's why it was so popular to resurface them, to try to get a few more miles out of them. So these things are so cheap, you know, they're disposable. You know, you just use them and then don't even worry about resurfacing them. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.